2024 was a record-breaking year for many manufacturers. Yesterday, we talked about how Mazda smashed their all-time sales record here in the United States. Same thing with Lexus. But many of us forget about little old Swedish automaker Volvo crushing an all-time sales record. Well, ironically, the previous sales record was set last year in 2023. So they broke it again in 2024. However, they know 2025 is going to be a hard year for them for lots of different reasons. Today, we're going to not only look at Volvo's finances, it's a little bit dry, but we're actually going to pull up their product map, new platforms coming out, new models coming out. We'll talk about which ones are likely to come to the United States. We'll talk about the EX30 and the EX90 a little bit as well. Those are starting to become available finally in the United States. So guys, if you are excited to talk about Volvo, make sure you are subscribed. I would appreciate a like button hit as well. So we mentioned record sales, but they start with record revenue and profits. Now, SEK, that's the Swedish krona. Even though Sweden is a part of the European Union, they have their own currency still. Good for them. Fully electric car sales in 2023 was 23%. That's actually the highest of all legacy automakers to have that sort of EV penetration. Now, that's not how high it was in the United States. We'll talk about the United States here in a little bit. But also 23% on top of this, so a total of 46%. So the other 23% was plug-in hybrid, like the XC90 plug-in hybrid, which just got a refresh. Can't wait to drive that. It's one of my favorite Volvo's XC90 plug-in hybrid. Jim Rowan, the CEO of Volvo, kind of summarizes last year up quite well. 2024 was a year of two halves. The first half, we recorded strong double-digit volume growth, but like the rest of the industry, we experienced a more challenging second half. Why? Well, I think inflation's catching up. People are still getting a little bit more restrained in affordability. I think that's a big part of it. And it's not just the United States, it's everywhere. But demand has slowed down, and this has an impact on both of our sales pace and underlying profitability. Nevertheless, we can look back at 2024 with a sense of achievement in several areas, and we are positioned well to achieve our long-term ambitions. Now, if we go back to their main press page here, yes, things were an all-time high revenue, profit, sales for Volvo, but as we get into 2025, they're already down 5% with a global sales of just under 51,000. So they're starting the year off not very strong. So I think 2025, it might be a daunting task for them to set a third consecutive record-breaking year. And the decrease in total sales, they say, was largely due to the Chinese New Year and the timing of it. And before I forget, Volvo USA and Canada report sales in January of just under 8,800 units. And while Volvo, remember, is down 5% globally for the month of January due to that drop in Chinese demand, according to the how the Chinese New Year fell, Volvo in USA and Canada is up 5.4% versus the same time last year. And electrified models, those with BEV or PHEV, increased 44% compared to the same time period last year and accounted for 36% of the sales during the first month of the year. Remember, last year it was about 46% of the sales globally had a plug. In the United States and Canada, for January, we're getting close. We're at 36%. US and Canada, the XC60 is a top-selling model with 3,149 cars in January sold, followed by the XC90 with 2,748, and then the XC40. And those are all gas models, of course. Well, you can have plug-in hybrids for these, right? If I pull up again some of the Volvo availability in my area, there's hardly any C40s. Remember, they just renamed it to the EC40. EX30, hardly any. EX90, fully electric, hardly any. S60. Now, S60, rest in peace, the sedan. There's 91 of them, but they stopped producing it last year in Charlotte or South Carolina. I think it's Charleston, South Carolina, where the plant is. So they stopped producing it. There's still a lot on the market. So maybe you can get, and the plug-in hybrid, though, is the best one. And there's only one available, maybe two with how it's labeled here. S90, so a few of the large sedans out there, plug-in hybrid. Let's see, V60 cross country. The V60 plug-in hybrid is the Polestar tuned one. That thing is a riot. But the real volume is in their volume sellers. Go figure, right? XC40 over 500 in my area, XC60 over 700 in my area, and that's not even including the PHEVs. And then if you look at the XC90, 500 in my area. So yes, they're in America, they're really focusing on their bread and butter. XC40, XC60, XC90, and to a lesser extent, the electrified or the plug-in versions of those cars. President of Volvo USA and Canada, we are excited to see a strong start to the year and look forward to the continued growth in the US and Canada with their new XC90. That thing is going to crush it. Think about how many XC90 owners have had an XC90. They look the same for the last like 10 years almost. Was it 2016 when they redesigned it? Maybe 2015. All right. They're ready to get a refresh of it. But we have a look ahead in 2025 and beyond. This is where it gets pretty exciting, not from a monetary standpoint, because that's really, really boring. We got some cool press slides from their little video. So let's go ahead and get into these, and we're going to geek out and take a look forward to what's coming for good old Volvo. First and foremost, let's get into this cool little roadmap that they have. All right. Things are moving fast for Volvo, and it's an exciting time if you like the brand. 2024, 2025, so we're in 2025 now, and we're getting some new technology on their cars. Cell to body, mega casting, similar. I mean, isn't that interesting that they're calling it mega casting too, just like Honda is on their 0 Series EVs? So mega casting, it's a little bit smaller casts compared to the giga casting traditionally that Tesla uses. It allows them to reduce costs, and then they weld big casted pieces together instead of having enormous machines for one big cast. So yeah, a little bit more modular. You can customize these casts a little bit more, and it's a little bit more like Legos. We have new e-motor technology. Well, we saw that come out for the 2024 models. That will keep rolling out as they come out with new models. They talk about how the Ghent factory in Belgium is getting the EX30. That's super important for our market because with the 100+% tariffs coming from Chinese EVs, there's no way they could sell them here in the United States without massive price increases. And it just, the point of the EX30 is to be an entry-level model for the brand. All right. Also, we have the SPA 3 and SPA 2 platforms getting not only the introduction of SPA 3, but SPA 2 is getting a big revision, all right, during this time period. So let's nerd out on this slide, and then we'll go over the models here in a little bit. So in 2025 and 2026, both years, I believe, we're going to have 5 newer refreshed products in both years. So 10 products total that I'm aware of, but definitely for 2025. EX30 cross country. Now, the EX30, there are actually some available in my area right now. Not many, just 9 within 150 miles of me. All right. I had no idea they were even available in the United States right now. I knew that they were kind of postponed, but it looks like you can get your hands on an EX30. But the thing is, like, $50,000 for this car, I can barely fit in one. I'm not that big of a person. 6'1", 200 pounds, and I feel cramped. And forget about the back seat unless you were a very small human being, like under 5 foot. I sat in a right-hand drive model in Japan of the EX30, and I know these things are fast. They look cool, but these things need to be priced at like $30,000 starting. And the only ones available are $50,000. So that vehicle is going to be a big flop for them. An EX30 cross country could cost more than what we already have now. So big whoop. ES90. The ES90 is supposed to debut new technology and new things for Volvo on their full-size electric sedan. The problem is that the S90 that we get in America, I think we still get the S90, that is made in China. And yes, that gets hit now with an extra 10% tariff that was just put on by the Trump administration. But the ES90, since it's fully battery electric, gets hit with an additional 100% tariff. So this vehicle will not come to the United States unless they somehow find a way to build it in South Carolina or find a way to build it in Belgium or like Sweden. So this vehicle, I think, is not coming to the United States. The market for large full-size sedans that is just not big, let alone even more niche, all right, like an electric. So this is big for Europe and even more big for China, where sedans still have a huge strength. Also in China, which we're not going to get here, is a new EREV, extended range electric vehicle, or long range PHEV. They should just call it an EREV for China. We don't have any other details. A refresh of 2 existing models is happening in 2025. Well, we have the new XC90, refresh of the current model. They redid the lights, the grill a little bit. Beautiful car. I love the XC90. It's one of my favorite from Volvo. It's a timeless design, and they just made it look a little bit fresh, a little less tired. So that's coming this year. I don't know what the other refresh would be. My guess would be an XC60. Technology, further harnessing of core compute tech with the second SPA car, the ES90. Again, I don't know when we'll see this technology. We're definitely not going to see the ES90. Also, 2.5 million customers with SPA 1 models, and CMA cars, they are getting a Volvo's new user experience through an over-the-air update. So 2.5 million customers around the world are going to get an updated user experience. God, thank you, because their current user experience, while basic, it can be buggy. So I hope this really fixes a lot of the issues with Volvo's buggy software. Start of the EX30 production in Ghent for the first half and full ramp up in the second half. So we will start getting them from Ghent, but again, they need to lower the price on that car, and EV tax credits are gone. So I just don't see the success of the EX30 in America. What does that remind us of the C30 that didn't last very long in America? This was one of the coolest cars I remember in college. This little cute little 3-door hatchback thing. Love the C30, and the EX30 is kind of a modern version of it, but I just don't see it being successful. All right, 90 series, full year, both new XC90 and EX90. And again, EX90, which production is ramping up in Charleston, and that's the only version we're going to get. We're not going to get the Chinese Chengdu made model because of tariffs. All right, so here's the EX90. Looks awfully similar to an XC90. I think that was the point. And all Volvo's cars have such a similar design language. Again, is Volvo going to run into issues with pricing with this car? I mean, I'm seeing average price around $90,000 or over $90,000. I guess it competes well with the R1 SUV from Rivian. I think this looks better. Well, yes, in some ways. I like the boxiness of the Rivian. But the thing is, it's like, how big of a market is there in America for these $90,000 3-row EVs? I can't wait to drive it. I'm sure I'll love it, but it's very, very expensive. And I think most people would just buy a XC90 or XC90 plug-in hybrid and save some money, because those models, $10,000-$15,000 less sometimes than what we're seeing here. Oh, I mean, shoot, I'm seeing EV9s in my area with price drops. Let me go back. Lowest price, we're seeing $2,000 price drops. I know it's the short range. I mean, that's way too expensive a vehicle to have that sort of short range on it. But yeah, look at this. Look at this. 66.5 MSRP, and then it's dropping all the way down to 50K. Yowzers. Not looking good for 3-row EVs and holding their price. And the thing is, it's like the EV9 is fantastic. And I know it comes down to lease. So maybe you're saying, Kirk, it's not about the sticker price of the EX90, it's about the lease. But now the EV tax credit's gone. So these things are going to be harder to move for the dealers. And in fact, I think I read something in Korea that they are slowing production of the Ioniq 5 out of the Ulsan plant. Also, the Korean battery makers have really lowered their forecast for 2025 due to a lack of battery demand. All right. Anyways, I know that's a long rant on the the EX90, but I think they'll get a few early buyers that pay full price, but I just don't know. Anyways, let's keep reading. EX60. This is on the new SPA 3 platform. This is going to be a massive improvement. Back in September, when SPA 3 was announced, Volvo says it, of course, builds on the building blocks of SPA 2, but here are the big improvements. It'll have enhanced core computing capability, which allows them to secure higher performance and improve features through their tech stack. But the most important change is the SPA 3 architecture is far more scalable than its predecessor. That means they can continuously develop and build cars of all sizes. Larger than the EX90. I mean, Volvo, bring a van to the United States. I'm all for that. Smaller than the EX30. I mean, what is that, a two-seater at that point? Using the same technology base, so that can all be on the same platform now. So the modularity and upgradability of SPA 3 will allow for lower investment costs with a lower variance as well in relation to sales, which in turn should lead to a stronger future cash flow. First EX test vehicle built and driven will be coming in 2025, I believe. And SPA 3 launch on target with significant cost reduction. Significant cost reduction. That's what the EX90 needs. But I think the EX90 is on SPA 2, right? So it's going to be good for the brand. And if they can get prices lower, that's great. But again, we're not going to be able to get them from China where they can make them for a lot cheaper. The EX60 will likely be made in Sweden or Belgium. So, all right, zooming into their lineup here. Current fully electric models. Again, we don't get the EM90. I'd love to have this luxury Volvo van. I think I saw a Zeekr version of it, or Geely version of it, right? It's all parent company is Geely out of China. But I think I saw the Zeekr version of it at CES 2025. Remember, this was the XC40 Recharge, and then, gosh, they had the C40 Recharge. Now they renamed both of them to the EX40 and EC40. Gosh, Volvo with the renaming is going to get me stumbling for probably a while now. EX30, again, we'll see how successful that small $50,000 BEV is. It's a rocket, but if I'm spending that much money on a small, actually, I would save my pennies and get the Ioniq 5N. I know it's not as efficient, but that thing was incredible. What do we have coming in 2025, 2026? We talked about the ES90. Not going to get it. Not going to get this E-Rev. We'll get this EX60, and I have no idea what these other two are going to be. Maybe a Volvo wagon on SPA 3 would be, that would be stunning. And not sure what the other one would going to be. Maybe a coupe crossover. Hard to say. All right. Maybe they get rid of the EX40 and have a SPA 3 version of it, or just a next gen version of it. It's really tough to say, but they got stuff coming down the hatch. Volvo is financially strong right now. 2025 is going to shake it up for them, just like with many other manufacturers. So let me know what you're excited for. Stay tuned. I hope to be able to drive the EX90, get it for a week, throw the kids in it, see how good of a family hauler it is. That's one of the things, as much as I like the XC90, it is super cramped for a big family. EX90 should resolve some of those spacing issues. So, all right. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more Volvo coverage and have a great day. Peace.